Hey everybody, welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room, and today I am doing my top 9 games that was played during the month of August. Now August, I don't know for you, but for me it just flew by. Also, I got to attend FallCon, which is the largest board game convention in my area in Alberta. So I got to attend that, and then I played a bunch of games there. But before we get into the top 9 game, let's have a quick look at the stats. So in August, I played 56 different plays of 43 different games. The location was 2 locations. It was at home and it was at FallCon. That was it. 4% of my base collection got played this month. So let's have a look now at what made it in the top 9. So number 9 position, we have Sky Team. So I bought this one in June. It's been in my collection since June. My copy personally got played, but it just hadn't got played by me. And I had it in time for MelCon. So while at FallCon, my brother was also attending FallCon, and he grabbed this one. So we ended up playing it together. And I was really impressed with this one. So it is very interesting. You play, one is a pilot, one is a co-pilot. And you have different scenarios that you can play through. And the whole point is you're trying to navigate and kind of make it through to the airport and have like your, because each round your altitude drops. So you're trying to get to the base, like the what was like floor level altitude, and make it to the airport by that time. So you got to control your speed. You got to control the like how level the plane gets. There's a lot of different stuff like that you're kind of, if it spins out of control, you would lose. If you don't reach the airport, you would lose. If you overshoot the airport, you would lose. If you don't have all your landing gears down by the time you reach the airport, you would lose. If your flaps aren't up, you would lose. If you have too much speed for the amount of braking that you're doing, you would lose. And this is just a base game. Plus, there's a lot of like planes in the way, and there's a traffic in the sky, so you need to radio for them to move out of the way to make sure that you can safely make your way through. And there's all these different things that's in play. Each scenario will kind of bring different elements or kind of go up in complexity as well. So we ended up doing this first one, the Montreal airport one. And then we went and did, and I don't remember which one it was called, but it added traffic. So you would have like a traffic dice you would have to roll at certain times, and it would bring in more planes in the way that you would have to radio out of the way. And it also had fuel, so each round you would have to allocate a dice to how much fuel gets spent. If you didn't allocate a dice there, 6 fuels would get spent, and you had to make sure that you had enough fuel to make it to the landing. It's just really interesting. And I mean, this is all like sounds very, but it's very abstract. So you just have dice and you roll them. And like for the how level the plane stays, you would put a dice there. The other player puts a dice there. You can't communicate. And the difference, if it's the same, then the plane doesn't move. Now, if the other player put a 5 and you put a 4, then it would move 1 towards the 5, right? So it was interesting that way. Then you had the speed dice, and that would kind of combine together. And if the speed was below a certain thing, then you wouldn't move forward on towards the airport. If it was between the blue and the orange marker, then you would move 1 space towards the airport. And if it was over the orange marker, then you would move 2 space towards the airport. Now, you want to reach the airport, you just don't want to reach the airport too soon or shoot the airport. And then there was the braking, which the pilot does, and then you need to allocate dice, and it's specific numbered one. It has to be a 2, a 4, and a 6 in order to kind of build up the brake power. But as long as you have some breakage and your speed on the last round is less than the brake, your plane will stop safely. So there's that going on. It was just so interesting. I mean, and it's a quick, simple game, really. The theme is just so interesting, and it was really neat to play. So we ended up playing a couple of rounds, and it was amazing. So that's my number 9, Sky Team. Then in number 8 position is Unscrewed. Unscrewed was is done. Like the Kickstarter is over. It funded in 4 days when it went live, so that was really exciting. They had a couple of days left when we were at FallCon, so it was being promoted there. We did a live playthrough again. I've played this one half a dozen times. And that's because I don't have my own copy yet, right? So I was backer number 6. So I'm super excited that this is being published. And we played it again. Actually, it was really neat because one of the kids that ended up playing with us just stayed by the game pretty much the whole weekend, and he played it again and again and again. He really loved it. And that's one thing to say about this one. This is a game that's so fun and chaotic that will appeal to a younger audience, but it is just so neat and fun that, I mean, like, really any player may enjoy this. Now, I'm saying may. There's a lot of take that element. It's kind of based on a 90s cartoon. Everybody is a cartoon character, and we have a TV show, but the network is dropping down to 1, so we're doing a battle to the death to see which one of us gets to stay on the network. But you have like all those, anvils that could land on you, or there's bombs that could explode. There's fans that can suck you in, and you would not survive that. And like there's different chaotic things, and it's a programming game. Like you'll say, well, I'm gonna move east, and then I'll move north, and then I'll do an impromptu card, which could be something, or we don't know what it's gonna be. But then maybe I move east, but turns out something happened. I got pushed aside, and then I'm moving north, but now I'm moving into the fan, so I would die. Now, one thing that's fun too with this is if you die, you can respawn. So if your turn comes and you're first player and you're not on the board anymore, you respawn. So, but the game plays super quick, 15 to 30 minutes, the game is over. Plus, it is so interesting to watch the game, even if you're not in the round right now. Like, it's so funny. That it is quite enjoyable, in my opinion anyways. So that was my number 8, and that was Unscrewed. So in number 7 position for the month of August was Furnace. So I had friends over, and she said, oh, you had posted pictures of this game. Could we play it? And I was like, yeah, let's play it. This is one that I played regularly. It's just so really interesting. It's an engine building game. You're collecting different cards to create different things. The whole goal is to collect a resource so that you can sell them for money, and the money is your score. So you're trying to get as much money as you can at the end of the game. But this is kind of an interesting bidding thing too. So every round there's going to be different cards that are available. Now you're going to bid on the cards that you want to try to get. So if you have the highest bid there, you would get that card to add to your engine. Now if you bid on a card and you're not the highest, you would get the resource that's listed at the top multiplied by your bid. So if you bid 1, you would get whatever the resource is shown there. But if you get 2, you would get 2 of the resource shown there. And sometimes you're bidding on a card hoping to get the resource, so you have those resources to convert into money and go through your whole engine. But you end up winning the card. So it's really interesting that way. It's one that's just very satisfying. Plus, when you play it, everybody can do their engine portion at the same time, so it plays fairly quick. I have played where somebody insisted they wanted to see what everybody was doing and asked that we do it time-based, and you do yours and then you do yours. It slows up the game quite a bit, but I much prefer myself to just everybody does it at the same time, so then there's no downtime. But yeah, that was my number 7, Furnace. Then in number 6 position for the month of August is Witchstone. So I played this a couple of times. I set it up on my table here to kind of learn how to play. This is a game that I got at the auction at FallCon. And it's a Reiner Knizia game. And there's just so much going on with it. It is so interesting. So we're trying to kind of repower up the magic for the season or whatever. And we all have cauldrons, and then there's gems on the cauldrons, and then there's symbols on there. We're going to be adding tiles to it, and the tiles indicates which action you're going to do. So you play a tile, and then maybe it has a wand action, so you would actually move forward on the wand board at the bottom of the board. And as you move forward and you pass different icons, then you would get to activate those those action as well as you go through. Or maybe you have the scroll action, which allows you to take a scroll card, which would kind of give you either a special ability you can one time activate, or it would give you kind of end of game scores that you can build up on. You also have the witch action where you can add witches into the map in the middle of the board, or you can move the witches around on that map. Or it'll give you the pentagram action and you get to move your owl around the pentagram and collect tokens that'll either give you extra actions to do or that'll give you points to do. There's so many different things you can kind of activate. And what's interesting is as you add tiles to your cauldron, you would create clusters. So if I'm activating the witch action and I have a cluster of 4 witches, I get to do that action 4 times. So it was really neat. It was really like a beautiful board. It was so interesting. And activating the different things and then concentrating on the different things. I quite enjoy that one. And that's why that's my number 6, Witchstone. In number 5 position, we have Foothills. So this is a game, I don't even remember when I got it. It was on my shelf of shame. My friend Kayla came over and were like, hey, shoot, you're okay to play this with me? And then I had, we actually ended up recording and doing a live playthrough of it. And it was so good. It was so good. And we were so impressed with it. And then the next day she's like, I'm still thinking about this game. Like, it was so interesting. Now, apparently it's based on Snowdonia. And I've never played Snowdonia, so I don't know how similar or what's different about these two games. But with Foothills, we have these different train lines that we're going to try to build. And what's really interesting with this one is the action selection. So you have the cards that'll activate different action. And let's say I clear some rubbles from a line, because you got to have no rubbles in order to be able to place train tracks there. So I clear some rubbles, and rubbles you would kind of collect and they become part of resources that you can kind of use. So I do the rubble action. And then because I do the rubble action, I turn the card over and it has a whole different action that's not quite as powerful, that has nothing to do with the rebels anymore on the other side of the card. And now if I want to do the rebel action again, either I go and flip another card that brings a rebel action on it, or I do this action so I can flip the card back and have the rebel action again. So you really gotta almost think and plan 2 turns ahead, because it's not just what your action is going to be. It's like, okay, I want to do this. Oh, but it's been flipped. So I need to do this other action somewhere to flip this one back so that I can do this action. And like, so there's a lot to consider as you're playing, but it was so good. And then you have, well, you know, like your, I don't know, prospector, or like the guy that you can move around and activate the location. You can place stations onto the track that you've built, and if you visit those stations, you can activate what's there as well on top of what the actions are on your cards. It was so satisfying. I really, really enjoy it. Now, it says the game plays in 30 minutes. We were like well over an hour, nearing 2 hours when we were playing this. Now, it was a learning game, and we had to go to the book and refer to the rule book a few times. Now, I do want to point out the rule book was amazing. Like, everything on there you could find. It's like, oh, well, what about this? And then I would read the rule book, says, okay, so does that mean you can't do that? And then the next time it's like, that means you can't do that. So it was really well put together. I kind of had watched a few tutorials and we're going from that. So probably having gone through and read the rule book completely first would have been probably more helpful, but it was such a great game. That's my number 5, Foothills. Then in number 4 position, I have Ships. This is another one that I bought a long time ago, and I bought secondhand, and I just liked the look of it, and it looked interesting. The theme looked neat. It's a Martin Wallace game, and I was not disappointed. This one was so interesting. So it's almost like a civilization game that has to do with just the shipping and the boating industry, right? So you would start with almost like a raft, and then a barge, I think it was called, and then you kind of have to update or upgrade on the technology track on the outside so you can get better boats. But then you also have to exchange your boats and kind of improve what you've had and bring them to newer boats so that you can do more things. And you don't want to be left behind, because that's going to give you negative points if you kind of trail too far behind as well. But you had these great wooden boats that you're actually physically placing on the board, and you have the map on the thing where like you're extending as you kind of developing, you're reaching further, and then you're collecting resource, and you're kind of opening merchant routes from that as well. So it's very economic base, but the game was amazing. It was so good. It played a little long, and it does say 120 minutes. I was probably how long it took us. And then again, that was the first time playing, so kind of learning a little bit as we go, but it was good. I quite enjoyed this one. Ships was an amazing game, and that's why it's my number 4. Then in number 3 position, I have Comic Hunters. I had heard of this one. Now, it's not yet available in Canada. In fact, I think it was only available like in South America, but it's now in the United States. So my friend got a copy from the United States. It's coming to Canada soon, so we're keeping an eye for that, and I'm definitely going to want to buy it. And this one, okay, so if you have ever collected comic books, you're going to adore this game. I have never collected comic books. I'm not big into comic books, but I really love this game. The gameplay is solid and is so good. And what's going to happen is you're trying to put a comic collection together that's worth the most. Now, certain superheroes, and that's going to change every round, are worth more. So in this game here, we had, Iron Man was the most valuable hero. And then they have like these secondary hero, Captain America and the Black Panther, and then the bottom ones. And there's a couple of other heroes that just don't actually really score you anything. But they're still handy to have, because not only do you want to try to build a collection, trying to get the most of the more valuable, more popular superheroes to get more points that way, you also get points for having a wide variety of superheroes in your collection. And that you don't want to neglect that, which I totally neglected that, and I was nowhere near winning. But like on the top there, if you got 12 or more of the Iron Man one, that's 48 points. But if you got all 8 superheroes depicted in your collection, and there might be more, but if you get 8 superheroes depicted in your collection, that's 40 points as well. So if you manage to do both, now I'm not sure if that'd be possible, but that's a lot of points. But what's really interesting is you collect your comic books in different ways, and there's different valued comic books. So level 1, first one is you go to the comic store. And what's going to happen, it's a drafting one. So you get so many cards, you pick one, you pass them on, and then you pick one, you pass them on, and then you put your first kind of set together that way. And then there's one where you're going to create rows, and you're going to bid on the rows. And the one's kind of a bit of a piss your luck. It's like, okay, well, you could add one or you could claim a row. So then it starts with one in each. It's like, well, I'm going to add this one to this. You don't want to make them too attractive because somebody else is going to take it. But you build it up and it'd be like, okay, I'm going to actually take these ones. I'm not adding anymore. I'm satisfied with this. And that's one way of doing it. Then there's the bidding where you're using those blue tickets to bid on a cluster of comic books. And there's another one. Oh, the other one is a 5x5 grids of all these cards. And these ones it's called like the comic convention. So you have a 5x5 and there's one space that's open in the middle, and you can move one of the comic into that space and then claim a row or column. Be like, okay, I'm taking all the Spider-Man in this row, but I moved the Spider-Man in there so I'd have one extra one. Now there's a bigger opening that kind of allows you to move things around a little bit more. Be like, okay, well, I'm going to move this here, and then I'm going to take that column and I'm claiming all 4 of the Hulks that are showing in there. Or and different things like that. And you do that until you've kind of collected 2 sets. Now you're going to be doing 2 different method of collecting in one round, and then you have to purchase your comic book. And when you purchase your comic book, you need to look at just what the value of the books are, which ones you want to keep based on the superheroes that they represent and based on icons that they have on there, because you're trying to kind of do a set collection. but they'll have a price and say, oh, this one is really good, has a lot of things, but it has a value of 3. So you need to discard comic books that have a value of 3 in order to purchase this one into your collection. So you kind of get that, which one do you keep, which one do you sell? And you purposely make sure that you collect some comic book with the intention of just getting rid of them so that you can purchase your comic book you really want. You're going to do 3 rounds of that, and then whoever, you do kind of the final tally and score your collection. It's so interesting. It was so neat. I like bidding game, and this one almost had like 4 different types of way to get the comics. So the comic book, so it was really, really cool. I cannot wait to get my own copy of this. And that was number 3, Comic Hunters. Then in number 2 position is a game that I had heard about all the time, and I bought a copy and I just had never played it. Now this copy was secondhand, comes with 2 expansions in there, and that's Res Arcana. And I know why people talk about this game so much, because it is so good, and I've played it a few times throughout the month. We did do a live playthrough at FallCon of this as well, and this is like another engine building game where you collect. Well, what's kind of interesting with it too is at the start of the game you get 8 cards, and you can look at them. Those are going to be the 8 cards you have in your engine. That's it. Now they're going to change every time you play, but based on what you have, what will work with each other, you're going to kind of play them differently, bring different things out, and there is like these different essence that you can build up that you're trying to kind of generate or convert, and then when you have enough, you can go and buy the magical locations. That's going to be giving you ways of adding points, and it's whoever gets to 10 victory points first kind of ends the game, and whoever has the most wins. But it was so neat. I really, really love my play of this. And it was just, it's thinky, and you're kind of looking at what you got, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to bring this one in. And it had some dragons, and dragons kind of steal life from the other player. Now, there's a way to protect yourself on that, but the dragons are very expensive to bring out. Plus, you want to build your resources, because to get access to those magical locations also is quite expensive to get access to those. So that was all a bunch of stuff to consider, but it was so neat and satisfying to play. And just how you get the next 8 cards, and it's a whole different strategy you got to apply because of what you got, and just kind of figuring out what would be the best way. Now, we played it, like as I mentioned, at FallCon, and Kayla won by 1 point, which was by getting, like, she passed first, so she got the first play marker, which is worth 1 point. So she had 10 points. I had 9. Like, it was such a close game. It was so good. This one plays, it says 30 minutes to an hour. It took us about an hour, but oh my god, I like this one. So that's Res Arcana, my number 2. Then in number 1 position, same as last year, is still Expedition. I got to play this one again, and I played it with Lee, and it's still so neat. And then I'm looking at it. It's not Expedition. I forgot to change the picture. Oh my god. Now, Expedition definitely is good, but this was a game that I played just the other day. Oh my god, can you believe I did that? I believe it. I have done that. I should have proof it a little bit more, but yeah, it's Endeavor Age of Sail. I played it 2 days ago. Now, I've played this one a couple of times. I played it for the first time at FallCon in 2018. I played it again at Card Treat. And then after my second play, I was like, oh my god, this game is just so good. I ended up getting my own copy. And I bought it secondhand, and this was the first time I kind of cracked it open, and we played it here at home. And this is Endeavor Age of Sail. I mean, Expedition is good, but Endeavor is really good. And I don't think I played Expedition in August. Expedition was played in July and in June. But with Endeavor, first of all, the trays. So you have like your player tray that holds all of your little components for yourself to be set up to play. Then you have all the buildings, because at the start of each round, you're going to add a new kind of ability to your player board, and those are all in a tray, and it comes with lids, so it's amazing. This is definitely not a retail copy because all the the chips you put on the board, they're all acrylic, like they're beautiful. They're not cardboard ones, but and you're going to kind of build up, right? You start with one ability and you start with one worker, and then you gain 2 workers. And it's a worker placement game. It's like, okay, great. So I got these 3 workers. What do I want to do? And then you say, well, I can activate this ability that you build up. Now, if you don't collect enough abilities, you're not going to be able to do a lot because you have to have the place to place your worker in order to activate that action. Now, as well, you want to make sure that you build up your money track because that's how you buy or you pay your workers to bring them back. And if you don't pay them to bring them back, they clog up your actions. And then you say, well, I wanted to do a ship action, but I can't because I wasn't able to buy him back and he's blocking that action now. So there's interesting decisions and things that you got to do with it. And then you will start in Europe, and you can kind of add your token onto the different cities to kind of take control of that city. You can place your chips on these different ships, and you're kind of building up ship lines. And then if you ever connect 2 together and there's a token in between, and they're both your tokens controlling, then you get to take that middle token as well. And the token will either build up your your tracks for building power or cultures or money or being able to collect more cards on your board. Like, can you build that up? Or it's going to give you a free action token that you can have and activate at any time. Now, what's good with that is you don't need to designate the token, one of your workers, to activate it. Because what's interesting is you need to have enough workers on your board, on your player board, to be able to send one to activate the action, and if it's a shipping action, then send a second one to do the shipping action. And as you move forward and you get kind of more powerful action, there's some that allow you to do both or ship twice. So you'll need 3 workers in order to activate, 1 to activate the action, and then 2 to do the shipping action as well. And eventually, as you build up around the other side of the boards, you'll be opening new maps that you'll get access to. Now, if you haven't placed a sail action on the edge of that map, you can't build there. So you'll want to make sure that you get in there. Now, whoever has majority would get the governor card from that, which gives you builds you up on the different tracks and gives you kind of benefits that way. But then it opens the map to you. Now, if it's been opened and you haven't built on there, you can still do a ship action to show up there, but you just get nothing for it. But then you can access that part of the map. Now, and not every, when we played it 3 players, not every map got opened up, but it's just such a neat, interesting, gorgeous game. Like, it looks so good. Now, I did back Endeavor Deep Sea. They have a new kind of one from the series coming out that has more to do with diving, from what I understand. I haven't looked too much into it. I was so in love with this game that the next one was just a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm in, because this one is just so good. So that was my number 1, Endeavor Age of Sail, not Expedition. Not that Expedition isn't a great game, it's just I haven't played it in August. But Endeavor Age of Sail is my number 1. So here's a recap of the top 9 that made the top 9 games played during the month of August. And if you want to see, here's all the games that I have played in August. And I've played, like I said, I think it was 43 different games this month, and which is great. Like, it was a good month for board games, definitely because of attending FalCon. That definitely helped. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, my Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram as Mel's_boardgame_room. I also do a podcast with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist. Actually, today, episode 101 was just released, which is our recap of FalCon. And, of course, my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. So, bye, everybody.